Welcome to this episode on Canva. For those of you who don't know, Canva is an online design software and print shop, really. And it's a little bit different than competitors like Adobe because it makes money by offering a freemium model, right? So there are users that can access basic design features for free on Canva. By the way, it's completely cloud-based. And then there are premium offerings that are available through like a Canva Pro plan or other enterprise type of offerings that you pay for on a monthly or annual basis, right? And so these plans offer advanced features, access to larger library of design elements. They allow you to collaborate with a team. They offer greater cloud storage. There's a lot of features that you can pay for as an add-on on Canva. And so one of the other things that I think really sets Canva apart is that they offer a program called Canva Creators. So this is where designers can upload their work to the platform, and you as a user can pay to utilize a design that somebody else has created. And so we're going to talk today about Canva, this cloud-based design software, and really why it's a fantastic company, why it's experienced outsized growth over the last decade. What are some of the metrics that we'd be managing to inside of the company if we were sitting inside the strategy team, or if we were asked to solve a case interview that had to do with Canva. And so where we're going to start today is we're going to start with some key metrics just to lay the foundation for where the business is at today. So Jenny Ray is joining me today. I'm going to ask you, Jenny Ray, to break down some of those key metrics and just give us a rundown of where Canva's at.
Awesome. One of the things that we're doing across both the live and also all of the streamed platforms afterwards is just asking, what do you use? Do you use Canva? Do you use Adobe? Do you use another software? And not just usage. What we're really interested in is, what do you pay for? Because we're going to use that as a microcosm of some of the interests that we have. So if you're joining us live, and you could please add that into the chat on the platform that you're joining on, that'll be really interesting for us to know. Canva versus Adobe is part of the framing of our conversation today. So I'm actually going to share a little bit about the data when we're talking about Canva, because I think it's important. It really was birthed because there was a space in the market for creators who were not professionals to create professional looking designs. I will not say professional quality, because actually one of our insights from Adobe is that these are not the same quality. They're not the same vector quality. They're not the same editable quality as an Adobe design, but they are very, very close, and they're very easy to use. So after being founded in 2012, Canva really experienced explosive growth during the pandemic. And now they're at annual revenue of approximately, all these numbers are private, so we've sourced them to the best of their ability and to what they have shared with us, about $2.5 billion. Their gross profit is unknown, but we expect, as Namaan's going to share in a minute, that it's exceptionally high as a portion of that $2.5 billion. They have around 220 million users globally, but that's all users. What's really important to note is that they have about 22 million paid subscribers. That's actually a very high percentage in a freemium model, 10% of your total user base as the paid users. But that is a very notable number, because when we're looking at this versus Adobe, the number of subscribers is really closer to on par than the number of actual users. It's a big part of the engine of Canva's business is their freemium model. In addition, they have about 4,500 employees, which is much, much smaller than Adobe's organization. So, Namaan, I'll kick it over to you just to talk about what the heck is the business model for Canva. If you wanted to, figure out what they were doing and why, can you help us break that down?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can really quite quickly identify a company's business model by looking at its revenue drivers and its cost drivers. And so a couple of the revenue drivers for Canva, number one, and primarily it's that subscription revenue for the pro and the enterprise options on the platform. So you can pay to unlock additional features. Number two is they actually monetize their community through this Canva Creators program. So that means that the burden, the cost burden specifically of developing new designs isn't on Canva internally alone. They're also distributing that burden across their community and allowing designers to develop templates, allowing designers to create different types of visuals, upload them to the platform, and then take a cut of the revenue whenever somebody decides that that's the kind of design that they would like to use for whatever their use case is. And so that's another growing revenue driver for the company. And on the cost side of the equation, Canva's costs are primarily fixed cost. And so what I mean by that is they pay for the hosting, they pay for the platform upkeep and maintenance. They they pay to make sure that the features that they are offering are accessible and as easy to use, all the time. Like there's 99.9% uptime, right? People are able to get their designs, download them, share them, right? Like their platform upkeep cost. And so that means that for every user that Canva adds, there is very, very minimal incremental cost to them. And so the variable cost side of the business is really that creators program, right? So like the commissions that they're paying are variable, but that's a very small part of the cost base for Canva. So when you think about Canva, the way to think about Canva is that their costs are primarily in the fixed cost category. And so if your costs are primarily in the fixed cost category and you're a software as a service company, that means that you're looking to add users as quickly as possible. You're looking to add as many users as possible because there is not an incremental cost to delivery. And so in a nutshell, that's Canva's business model. With that being said, Jenny Ray, how would you manage the business?
Yeah. Namaan, can you just actually highlight one thing? Because I think this will be important when we're talking about the metrics. Can you talk a little bit about how Canva pays its creators? I think this is incredibly important. And also on their revenue side, is it flat rate or like if I want access to tool 1B, do I have to pay a direct fee for that? And again, just comparing this to what people may be more familiar with in something like Adobe, I think this is a really helpful piece of understanding that part of the business model, because that's going to tie directly into some of the metrics.
Yeah, absolutely. Canva's a flat rate. So the only differentiation that Canva offers is, do you want to subscribe month to month or on an annual basis? But you cannot single out a particular tool or feature and say, hey, I'll pay an a la carte fee for that tool, right? So it's a flat fee, it's a flat rate. Again, what does that mean? I think number one, it means that your value proposition is simpler and easier for your customer to understand. Number two, it means the administrative burden and the technical burden is easier to deliver on. And then number three, it means that your more popular features are subsidizing your less popular features. So there are a lot of reasons for Canva to offer a flat rate. That's number one. How do they pay creators? So what happens is, let's say, Jenny Ray, you're a creator, and you're a wonderful designer.
I am a creator, Namaan.
Yeah.
I'm not a wonderful designer, but let's imagine.
So let's say you designed a 2025 kind of personal planner type of template, right? And people want to get on Canva and they don't want to create their own personal planner. They can go through Canva's library. If they find Jenny Ray LaRue's design and they're like, this fits my use case exactly, then you have worked with Canva to set a price for the download of your template. Let's say it's $5, right? And then you would get a fixed percentage of that purchase as commission for somebody purchasing your template. So that's the way that they're monetizing. They're helping creators monetize their designs, and that's the way that they're monetizing kind of the collective efforts of their community.
Love it. So one of the things that I just want to talk about when I'm talking about the key metrics is this freemium model of Canva. It's an incredibly powerful engine, and it's also a huge cost risk that you're basically subsidizing the free portion of your user base with your paid user base. And you also have two different types of customers potentially that you're trying to think about. So the first thing I want to talk about is just the free customer growth rate. Canva does have incredibly powerful sharing and incredibly powerful referral programs. They're not monetized, but they've just made it very, very easy for somebody to say, hey, I'm using Canva, you should use Canva too. So their free customer growth rate, I think, really speaks to the potential inside this market and user adoption that is growing the pie. This isn't stealing directly from someone like Adobe. This is making Jenny Ray, who was never on Adobe because I didn't need Adobe Illustrator because I didn't know how to use any piece of it, and I have no moment of design in my little pinky, the free customer growth rate brings me into the fold, and it adds to a market that did not formerly exist. So that's one of the things that I think is really important to know. What's their free customer growth rate? Because if we're able to keep at least a very similar percentage of that as paid subscribers, that's going to be our direct relationship to those paid subscriber users. The second piece that I would look at is the cost per pro customer. My expectation is that a pro customer who's paying is likely to use more, both pro features, which are likely more expensive for me to pay out to creators, and more features in general. So I'm going to want to keep an eye on how much my pro users are actually spending, because I've got a two-sided marketplace that I'm managing inside Canva. You have the benefit of not having to really create one thing in-house that you need to present, but on the downside, you've got these hungry creators that are only going to keep creating if you're able to keep it good for them. So I see some pretty big cliff risk soon as creators flock to the platform expecting to make the same money that somebody did 5 years ago when they started on Canva. They won't. There's going to be challenges, and that's going to drive up the cost per pro customer as you have these higher volume users inside the pro customer space. And then just tied to both of those, the percentage of paid versus free over time. Like I mentioned, you're naturally expecting, as you see an explosion of free users, to have some kind of small degradation, maybe from 12% down to 10%. But if you're continually dropping and you have this very large freemium model with a user base that is really, again, sucking the energy and some of these download fees out of your total user base, and you're not able to adequately grow your paid subscribers, you're gonna have to think about how to lock down the paid subscribers more, lock down more of the free content so it's less valuable for the free users to help them migrate up, maybe create a la carte options, but really paying attention to who you're monetizing and who you're not over time, because that could be a pretty substantial business risk, especially from the cost side. Namaan, over to you.
Hey, Strategy Simplified, are you ready to land your dream consulting or corporate strategy job? On the Management Consultant job board, we've made it easier than ever to do just that. Create your free job seeker profile today and instantly unlock access to hundreds of top-tier job opportunities, all at no cost to you. Don't wait. Start your journey towards your dream career now through the Management Consultant job board. Your future in consulting is just one click away. Find the link to create your job seeker profile at the link in this episode's show notes. If you're enjoying listening to this business breakdown and learning how Namaan and Jenny Ray approach business problems, then you might benefit from the Black Belt program. Black Belt is a structured case prep program designed to help you build business acumen, crush case interview prep, land an offer, and get promoted. The program is built around 8 hours of one-on-one coaching with an MBB consultant, plus a world-class digital resource library. Our Black Belt cohorts have limited capacity each month, so don't wait around. Learn more and join today at the link in this episode's show notes.
All right, so you got the benefit of going first in this episode. So
Yeah, baby.
so I'm going to talk about different metrics than you did, even though I 100% agree with almost everything that you said in terms of what I'd be paying attention to if I was at Canva. I think the number one thing I have to mention, and we mentioned it for Adobe, but I have to reiterate it because this is just the nature of the beast when it comes to this kind of business, is you have to think about churn. Yeah. Right? And specifically, I'd be thinking about churn inside of my Canva Pro tier. So this is the primary, from what we can tell, the primary revenue and profit driver for the company. And it's kind of professional designers and small teams like the one that we have at Management Consultant that are drawn to this pro plan. And so we've already talked about this when we talked about Adobe, but I think it bears repeating. It is much, much easier and cheaper to work to keep existing customers than it is to acquire new ones. And so I mentioned these stats when we talked about Adobe. I want to mention them again, just to reiterate them. Acquiring a new customer can cost up to 5 times more than retaining an existing one. That's number one. Number two, even a 5% increase in retention can drive up to a 95% increase in profit. And then number three, you have like a almost 4x greater likelihood of selling to an existing customer than you do of selling to a new prospect. And so when you think about increasingly monetizing this customer base over time, retention is a key part of that strategy. One thing I'll mention here about Canva that I noticed as I was exploring the platform again is that, like, their cancellation page is best in class. Like, and the reason I say this is a lot of companies pay attention to what their sign up page looks like. They don't pay a lot of attention to what the cancellation page looks like. But if you work for or run a SaaS company, you need to go check out Canva's cancellation page. It's one of the best kind of user experiences that I've seen in terms of personalization. Here's how much you used Canva in the last year. Are you sure you want to cancel? Right? Here are the new features that have been added to Canva. Since you subscribed, are you sure you want to cancel? We can talk more about kind of cancellation strategy and the importance of churn on a separate episode. But you can tell that Canva's paying attention to churn by how much effort and time they put into the cancellation page, which is not what a lot of people naturally think of in terms of where I should be spending my time if I'm running a platform or a business. So go check it out if you're a subscriber and see what they do to try and keep you. So churn is number one in terms of the metrics I'd be paying attention to. Number two is my week one retention rate. So week one retention is the percentage of users who publish a design within 1 week of signing up. And so why do I pay attention to this? Because it's predictive of longer term retention. This goes back, January, to your conversation around usage, right? So if I don't just want you to sign up for a free account. I want you to publish a design. And if I can get you to actually take advantage of what you've signed up for, you're going to stick around. Secondarily, related to week one retention, be paying attention to activation, right? And so this is not just publishing a design, but it's like how many people, even on the free tier, create something after they sign up. Right. So my goal isn't just to get people in the door. My goal is to get them to explore Narnia once they're through that wardrobe door, right? Getting to Canva is not enough. Starting to explore inside of Canva's world is really kind of where the magic unlocks for them and where they start to see the potential for conversion to a pro account, where they start to see increased retention. There are real correlations between week one retention and activation and longer term retention. And then number three, I'd be thinking about enterprise plan growth. So we talked about when we broke Adobe down, this is kind of more naturally Adobe's core customer, right? This is not Canva's core customer, but I do think that there is opportunity for growth for Canva inside of the segment, specifically for small to medium-sized businesses, right? So enterprise customers are the most lucrative on a per user basis, and they are also the stickiest. There are higher switching costs for enterprises than there are for individual consumers. And so we've already talked about how Canva is a primarily fixed cost business. So that means that the higher price point you can charge at the enterprise level is almost all accretive to the bottom line. It's almost all margin. So there are extra features that are available to enterprise plan customers, but they are fairly low cost to deliver. So growth in this segment has a large effect both on top line and bottom line growth, right? And then a second order effect of this is that the users that are a part of enterprise plans will start to use Canva in their personal pursuits as well as they become familiar with the platform. So you can actually use the enterprise plans that you offer almost as it's getting paid to market to a user base you haven't had access to before. And so I'd be thinking about growing my revenue specifically in the enterprise segment as well. That's how I'd be thinking about the business. January, what are your hot takes for the future of Canva?
I have one, and this is from a user experience perspective. So thinking about the business portion of this, I think we could probably get a little bit more advanced with it, but I'll give a quick example from my personal life. I run a winery. Namaan, by the way, one of the key metrics of our winery is the person's second visit. How quickly can we get them to return a second time? Because we're more likely to have long-term customer retention in our wine club if we're able to get them back maybe for another event or for a members dinner or something like that. So I think that's really, really important. And I was just thinking about the fact that when I'm running the winery, I'm basically creating a set of marketing tools for my winery on Canva. And Canva has not prompted me or asked me to either name these in a certain way that would be helpful to other winery users or to upload my own designs onto Canva for later utilization. And I recognize that this is a very micro case, but thinking about it in the macro, if you have thousands of small businesses, restaurants, coffee shops, agencies that are running these kinds of programs, wouldn't it be incredibly powerful to have niched down packages? Because if I had access to a huge amount of winery specific information, right? Just yesterday, I was designing a new club member form, but if there were 50 club member forms that other people had uploaded because they created them on Canva because they could monetize them maybe in a very minor way, or maybe they could work off their enterprise fees by trading something there. I think that there's opportunity for Canva to use an AI layer to better make recommendations for specific business types, not just specific, like I'm doing an Instagram post, which is how they've organized now, but I'm trying to build a business in this specific category. And I'm recognizing as I'm using it that there's an opportunity there.
I love it. I love it. January, I think one thing, I've got a hot take, but I do want to add one thing to what you shared about Adobe, which what I heard you saying about Adobe in terms of a growth opportunity for them is almost like credentialing designers, onboarding them onto a platform and allowing them to kind of sell their wares or their services through Adobe's platform and taking a cut, right? I think like there's a huge opportunity for Canva to do the same because
Yes.
like
And not just the templates, but actually like I need
the design
help
services
with bottles, right? I need somebody to
Exactly.
give me a very specific thing. Yes,
like
exactly.
it's your small to medium-sized businesses that are less likely to have that capability in-house or less likely to have a network that can deliver that capability. And so I think Canva has a real opportunity to take share from places like Fiverr and from Upwork by credentialing service providers and then also allowing them to almost kind of sell their services and market themselves through the platform. And I think that within the next probably 3 years, we'll see that on Canva. I think within the next 2 years, we will see Canva go public. So Canva is privately held. It is based in Sydney, Australia. It's one of the largest kind of privately held tech startups in Australia. And I think that Canva will go public in 2026. I think it will be the biggest IPO of 2026. And I think that even though it's an Australian-based company, it's going to list on the NASDAQ. And so I'm looking for Canva to be a hot IPO as you see a friendlier kind of regime coming to place in terms of monetary policy here in the US and around the world. I think you're going to start to see the IPO market start to come back and Canva is going to take advantage.
I love it. Well, as we wrap up for Canva, I think it's just really helpful for y'all to know that we're kind of flying a little blind here, but that's how a lot of businesses have to do their business intelligence too. If you're working inside a space where somebody is not public, you have to extrapolate based on some of the things that they say, on reports that they do, on announcements that they make, on presentations that they're talking about inside podcasts, and you have to kind of pull together the story. But the most powerful way you can gain insights from a business, if you're not sure how it works, is to become a customer. It's really where Namaan and I, in both our conversations of Adobe and Canva, came through the lens of, hey, why are we a customer? Why may in the future we not be a customer? What would make us a more valuable customer? So if you're trying to build business acumen, one thing I'd recommend for you is to really think about the business from the leadership perspective, but also think not what do I like about this product or what do I not like, but why would I buy it? How much would I pay for it? The real analytical tactics that a business is thinking about, those can help provide a tremendous amount of insight. Thank you to everyone for joining. We're so grateful for your attention on today's episode.